Atlantic City, a town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
Tuesday edition of the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill. Abbreviated edition here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Of course, we have the First Responders Bowl coming up at 3:15 is kickoff. So we're going to squeeze in as much football talk as we can here on a Tuesday. Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press usually joins me each week on game night. He will join me coming up at 2:25 p.m. And the latest from Eagles facilities, the NovaCare Center, John McMullen, Eagles Insider, coming up at 3 p.m. right before we go to the bowl game. As always, you can join the conversation at 609-403-0973 and your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. And, yesterday was one of those days where the news was kind of coming hot and heavy, right? A lot of the people in the news cycle were, and us included, when you're in this job, when you're behind this microphone, you spend a lot of time when a news story comes up, you're trying to do research on the fly, right? And when the news came out about Lane Johnson and his quote-unquote abdominal tendon tear, it was something that we didn't have all the information immediately. It was something that we were building up to. So, we were gathering information and the Avonte Maddox news came out. And as information has come out now, it's looking more and more like Lane's going to miss the final two games for sure. And he might miss longer because if it really is an injury to the groin, as was suggested by the Pro Football doc, Dr. Chow, in a radio interview that we played yesterday, and a lot of other doctors who are in sports medicine have suggested this is probably closer to the sports hernia abdominal area than it is a traditional upper core injury, that potentially the suggestion that has been made by a lot of people that Lane had already sustained a core injury to the abdominal wall and that the weakness in the abdomen caused a ripple effect of him now to tear a tendon potentially right above the groin region. So if that's the case, even when he comes back, he may not be 100%. But what I thought was interesting was what former Eagle great Trey Thomas said. Now, Trey Thomas, aside from being one of the best Eagles offensive linemen in the franchise history, he's also a guy who's very opinionated. He watches a lot of tape, and I've listened to a lot of his breakdowns of offensive linemen over the years. And I think I've learned more listening to Trey Thomas talk about the offensive line and watching Brian Baldinger break down offensive line play than I ever learned anywhere else about football. So when Trey Thomas said this morning on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max, I have to admit I was a little surprised.
I think you're going to just pop Jack Driscoll in at right tackle and just go ahead and have at it. He's someone that's always been the backup tackle to Lane Johnson, so I don't think that it'll be a big problem. I know that they do have those stats out there with the win-losses without Lane Johnson or with him, but I think that Jack Driscoll is someone that can that can step into his place like he has done before and hold his own.
You hear how casually Trey says that, like it's no big deal. And we as a sports fan base, we love to hear from former players because people who lived something, they went through things that you and I didn't go through. I never played in the NFL, and I would assume that 98% of the people listening to me on 97.3 ESPN FM and on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle, I would think it's safe to assume that the majority of us have never played in the NFL, let alone the highest level of college football. Okay. So if you haven't played at that level, when you hear a guy like Trey Thomas just casually say, oh, Jack Driscoll can go slide it in there and do a good job, that tends to make me think that there's a chance that Lane doesn't come back even for the first playoff game. Because if this is as serious of an injury as some medical experts have suggested, it's a strong possibility that Lane might not be even close to 80% without needing surgery. Would the Eagles actually consider doing what Trey Thomas just said? Just rolling out there with Jack Driscoll and not even worrying about Lane coming back. Now, Lane has not been placed on injury reserve. So that's a big part of this. And even though Nick Sirianni confirmed yesterday that Lane and Avonte Maddox, the injuries and the reports, he didn't actually specify what the injuries were. Like, for example, the reporting out there is that it's a toe injury for Avonte Maddox. Well, people have suggested it's probably a turf toe, but we can't confirm that. I can't sit here behind this microphone and overtly tell you it is a turf toe, just like I can't overtly tell you it's a torn groin muscle for Lane Johnson. We don't actually know specifically all the details. And as the Eagles keep trying to tell the media, they're still gathering information. So we got to proceed as if Lane may not come back anytime soon, and Avonte Maddox is probably a week-to-week proposition. Because as Jeff Mosher was saying yesterday on Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast here on 97.3 ESPN, Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Tuesday afternoon. Glad to have you guys on board the show today. Jeff Mosher was saying to us yesterday that turf toe is a huge problem for athletes. Now, the problem is that the Eagles didn't say it was turf toe. It's being suggested it might be turf toe. We know that Trevor Lawrence has played multiple weeks with what is called a toe injury. But we don't know if it's a turf toe, if it's something else. We actually don't know. So I'm not going to sit here and presume to project when Lane or Avonte come back. But what I can do is listen to a guy like Trey Thomas who tells me that Jack Driscoll may very well be good enough to get the job done. And didn't we have a little deja vu with this? Isn't there a little bit of memory recall with this? Because this happened in 2017. You had an elite high-level tackle in Jason Peters who went down with an injury, and the backup who nobody in their right mind thought was anywhere close to the starter. As we mentioned yesterday, there is a drop-off from Lane Johnson to the next guy playing that position. Because Lane Johnson is not just arguably the best right tackle in football, he may be the best tackle in football. He's in that conversation. So you're going from the best in the game to someone who is less. Doesn't matter how much less. It's just not that guy. So we saw this in 2017 when Vaitai had to come in for Jason Peters. We all fretted because, number one, Jason Peters is a future Hall of Fame left tackle, and he was still playing at a high level in 2017. Now, when he came back from the injuries, he started diminishing returns each year. But before that injury, 2017, he was playing well. The second problem with Vaitai was we just saw Vaitai the year before, 2016, try to fill in for Lane Johnson in 2016, and he was part of the reason why the Eagles couldn't win almost any games without Lane. People forget that 2016 Eagles team got out to a 3-0 start. Doug Peterson's first year. They were on fire. And then Lane got suspended. And they went on a stretch where from week 5 to week 15, they won 2 games. It felt like they lost every game, honestly, if you talk to Eagle fans. People were so happy they beat the Vikings in that game. People were a little surprised they beat the Falcons. But the rest of the schedule was just a dumpster fire. And until Lane came back, it felt like this team was hopeless for 10 games. And Vaitai was part of that hopelessness. You looked at Vaitai and you said, this guy stinks. He can't play. So when he had to come in for Jason Peters, people were fretting. People were worried. I remember seeing the people texting in at 609-403-0973 and DMing us through the 973 ESPN mobile app. I remember running into people out and about who were saying, oh man, this season's over. We lost. People were more concerned about losing Jason Peters than they were about Carson Wentz that year. That's where we were at. So there is a little deja vu this time around where you lose Lane Johnson. You're on the cusp of making a big time postseason run. And now you got Jack Driscoll. I know it's been suggested by some people that they should move Jordan Mailata to right tackle and keep Dillard at left. I wouldn't do that for 2 specific reasons. One, because I think it's already been shown this year that Mailata has kind of hit a bit of a slump at times. He has not had as good a year this year as some people had anticipated. I think that there have been at least 2 or 3 games this year where he has made some mistakes. And you don't want to compound those mistakes by moving him to a position where his footwork is opposite, his handwork has to be opposite, his brain has to do everything opposite. And for those of us who have driven manual cars, okay, I know for some of you of a certain age, you have no idea what a stick shift is. But for those of us who know what a stick shift is, you learn your entire life to run a stick shift with your left foot as the shift pedal, your right foot for the gas, and your right hand for the stick, for shifting. And then one day you get given a car and you're excited because it's a Nissan Skyline R33 and you're looking at it and it looks amazing. And then you realize that everything's on the opposite side. Now you're having to learn how to shift with your left hand. You're having to press the clutch with a different foot, a different coordinating left, right. Basically, everything is the opposite. And you still have to drive on the right side of the road with the wheel on the other side of the car. It's confusing as all anything. So imagine doing that for a football player. So why would I ask Mailata to do that when some of his issues have already been compounded this year by him still learning how to excel the position? So I wouldn't do that. The second reason why I wouldn't move Mailata to right tackle is because I don't know what the status of Dillard is at this point. We have seen so little of him since he came in. And listen, Paul from Millville, you're asking the question a lot of people are. A lot of people are saying, why are we taking a chance with Driscoll? And again, I want you to hear the beginning of Trey Thomas, what he said. Not just what he says, but how he says it.
Well, I think you're going to just pop Jack Driscoll in at right tackle and just go ahead and have at it.
Hold on. He just said pop him in and have at it. And he says it so casually. Again, this is one of the best offensive linemen in Eagles history. This is a guy who breaks down offensive line play. The only person I've ever seen do it better is Brian Baldinger, honestly. And I think Trey, only reason he's behind Baldinger is because he's been doing it for less amount of time, honestly.
someone that's always been the backup tackle to Lane Johnson. So I don't think that it'll be a big problem, you know.
Hold on. He thinks it's not going to be a big problem. Now, maybe he's wrong. And maybe you, the Eagle fan, like Paul in Millville, looks at Driscoll and is like, come on, man. Driscoll, really? This guy can't stay healthy. This guy is not as big and as strong and as powerful as Lane Johnson and Joy Mailata. But like I said, I'm worried that some of the issues that have been a problem for Mailata this year, he's had a couple of bad, rough moments this year. For example, with a couple false starts in one game. He had a couple games where he had those holding penalties. He had a couple games where he went the wrong way in a blocking assignment. Why would we compound that issue by moving him the right tackle? Because now, again, you're doing everything opposite. It's like the stick shift. You're going from using your right hand to your left hand for the shift. Now, your eye perception is from the left side of the car to the right side of the car. You're asking someone to change something that they have done their entire life and go the opposite. And I don't know if I'm not saying Mailata can't do it, but do we really want him to do it? Now, is the theory, I would say to Paul and Millville and other Eagle fans out there at 609-403-0973. I know a lot of Eagle fans will say, well, why not put Mailata at right tackle? Let him learn on the job for 2 weeks, and then he'll be ready for the postseason. Now, if that's the case, then why haven't the Eagles put Lane Johnson on IR? See, that's where the rub is for me. You have not seen the Eagles officially put him on injured reserve. They have not officially ruled him out for any long period of time. So if the Eagles are not ruling him out, if the Eagles are not removing his return from the equation, then it sounds like to me that they anticipate he'll be back. So why would you ask a guy to learn a position and then immediately switch him back to left tackle? I think that's part of the reason why Trey Thomas is so intent on Driscoll playing right tackle, because he thinks this is a plug-and-play situation. People forget that Driscoll was a very good college player, and the knock against him was staying healthy. Well, if Driscoll can stay healthy, and then you don't ask him to play all of the Saints and Giants games, he'll be good to go for the postseason. Because if Lane can't play the first postseason game for whatever reason, at least you got a guy already. Again, I don't like the answer either. I think the way Trey Thomas said that was so nonchalant. And I was like, man, he's acting like this is no big deal. I think it is a big deal. And so do Eagle fans. And so does Paul and Millville. And so does other people who texted into the show yesterday. But guess what? Am I supposed to just dismiss what Trey Thomas said? Because the Eagles, according to Herm Edwards, former Eagles player, former Jets and Chiefs and Arizona State head coach, he thinks the Eagles are still a very complete football team.
Well, I'm going to say the Eagles are probably a more complete team when they get their quarterback back, because that allows them to run the ball. They do a lot of things with that quarterback as far as what he can do, running the ball, RPOs, run some option with him. And I just think when you look at their record, I mean, they lost yesterday, and I've said this earlier, it really doesn't matter right now what these two teams do. They're both headed to the playoffs this week.
Eagles are a complete team. He's pointing to the quarterback. He's not pointing to the right tackle like we are. Like I played the NFL. Like I coached the NFL. So who are we to say that the Eagles won't be okay without Lane Johnson? Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN, being brought to you by the Gallery Bar Booking Games and Ocean Casino Resort. This football season, cheers your favorite drinks while cheering your favorite team. Go to the Gallery and Ocean Casino Resort to go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. More football talk next with Rob Maaddi, lead NFL writer from the Associated Press, with me, Josh Hennig, filling for Mike Gill on a Tuesday here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank CL.
You haven't downloaded the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app? Well, go get it now to follow all the Philly sports teams at 97.3ESPN.com, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
If you're struggling with addiction, medication that can support recovery may be the right option for you. Call 844-REACH-NJ now to learn more and start your recovery journey.
May old car problems be forgot in a brand new SUV.
Stop! You can't start the new year in an old car. Looking for some holiday cash? Then don't miss Matt Platt Nissan's holiday vehicle buyback. It doesn't matter what you drive. AJ, the trademan, wants to buy your vehicle today, regardless of the make, miles, condition, or situation. AJ will buy your ride for cash today. So treat yourself to a brand new Nissan Rogue. 0 down, 0 payments, 0 interest on every new Matt Platt Nissan Rogue.
It's on at Matt Platt Nissan.
Drive away with peace of mind, because only Matt Platt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. MattPlattNissan.com. Requalifications exist with approved credit. $27.78 per thousand financed on in-stock 2023 Nissan Rogues. Not all will qualify. Go to MattPlattNissan.com for complete details or call 844-917-4758. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 1/31/23. It's on at Matt Platt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Welcome to a late-night edition of What If, the show where I, Jake from State Farm, answer your insurance what-ifs. We've got Sean on the line. What's up?
Hey, Jake, what if I'm too stressed about my coverage to sleep? Like, what if I don't have enough? Or what if I need to change it?
Oh, if you can't sleep, just give us a ring. We're available 24/7. At State Farm, we're there for your what-ifs.
Hey, it's great. What if I just take a little nap?
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today.
Go to get your game on at the Gallery Bar Booking Games in Ocean Casino Resort this football season. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Get in on the parlay while in the middle of a party. Go for the sports scene and go for the endless screens. Go to the Gallery. Go to Ocean. Go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
For everything your business needs to make this year your year, Staples has you covered.
I need to organize all my papers and files from last year and the year before that.
Staples has you covered.
I need a new desk calendar so that I don't miss a meeting with my boss or a soccer game with my daughter.
Staples has you covered with everything you need to get organized this year. Right now, a 2023 lined desk calendar is $3.99 and an unlined calendar is just $4.99. Make this year your year at Staples. Offer ends 12/31. In-store only.
The Venture X card from Capital One gives you premium travel benefits, perfect for seeing Taylor Swift The Eras Tour. Presented by Capital One. Ooh, I do love her. Earn 5 times miles on flights and 10 times miles on hotels through Capital One Travel.
Enjoy your stay in Suite 13.
Whoa, 13? That's Taylor's lucky number. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
been putting back a few. And a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, total your car, you kill someone. Results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Smooth skin begins with hydrating ingredients. Olay Hyaluronic Body Lotion nourishes your skin with all-day hydration for deeply moisturized results that give you confidence like buttery soft shoulders like and visibly smooth skin like. Quench your skin with nourishing moisture from Olay Hyaluronic Body Lotion. Try Olay Hyaluronic Body Wash too and get skin your face will envy.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on a Tuesday here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Don't forget the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle. Well, NFL Week 16 was honestly nuts. So to get more into it, as well as the latest with the Eagles, what's going on with them, Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press joins me every week on game night on 97.3 ESPN. He's kind enough to join me earlier on the Sports Bash today on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, welcome in. How is your Tuesday going?
What's going on, Josh? How are you, man? Yeah, Week 16 was crazy. Week 17 is probably going to be nuts, too.
So, obviously, with the Eagles, let's start with them. You know, the news about Lane Johnson and Avonte Maddox have really been a bit of a gut punch for a lot of Eagle fans. We obviously don't have a ton of information about exactly the severity of these injuries, but I think the thing that I'm taking away right now, Rob, is the Eagles themselves have not put Lane or Avonte on the injured reserve. So, in retrospect, at least it looks like maybe those guys could be okay down the road.
Yeah, well, with 2 games left in the regular season, I would not anticipate either guy being out there. And really, with this game coming up against the Saints, right, and you should be able to win with or without Lane, Avonte Maddox, or even Jalen Hurts. I mean, they were in position to beat the Cowboys without Jalen Hurts, with Gardner Minshew in the lineup. They should be able to win this game. Then you give these guys 2 games off. They got the bye week, and then you take it day to day, really. I think the Lane Johnson injury is a very significant one, Josh. We've seen the numbers, what the team's record is. With him in the lineup, without him in the lineup, you can make the argument that he's the best player on the entire roster. Lane Johnson, to me, is one of the most underrated players in the NFL. And I don't know why he doesn't get the accolades that he deserves. Maybe because he's a right tackle, not a left tackle, and left tackles because generally they protect the quarterback's blind side unless he's a lefty like Tua Tagovailoa. They get a little bit more attention and more of the spotlight. But Lane Johnson is one of the best players at his position along the entire offensive line and maybe on the entire Eagles team. And to lose him for any length of time in the playoffs is going to be difficult. And they're going to have to, I think they would have to game plan around not having him out there. The runs to the right that now have to go to the left, whatever that you do with Lane Johnson, because you feel comfortable knowing that he's not going to get beat and he's going to be a monster out there destroying the guy on the opposite side, you're going to have to factor that into the playoffs. So the rest of the way doesn't matter. And then even Josh, even when he does come back, if he comes back, right? If this is a 4-week injury and he's back in the how is he going to feel? How can he perform at that close to or near 100%? I don't think that's going to be the case. So this is a big blow. Eagles have been very healthy throughout the season. The breaks have gone their way, and now at the worst time, as you're gearing up for January, things are starting to unravel a bit.
Is there any deja vu vibes for you, the 2017 when Jason Peters went down? I know Peters was a season-ending injury, but there was a serious drop-off from Peters to Vaitai, and the Eagles still won it all with Vaitai at left tackle, despite a lot of people's chagrin.
Yeah, and I think anytime you lose anybody this year, you're going to make, as soon as Jalen went down, we made the comparison to Carson Wentz going down, knowing that was season-ending and this isn't. Same thing here. That Eagles team in 17, right? Lost Carson, lost Darren Sproles, lost Jordan Hicks, lost Chris Maragos, Jason Peters, as you mentioned, even their kicker, Caleb Sturgis, I think in week 1, maybe week 2, paving the way for Jake Elliott to step in, kick that 61-yarder against the Giants and be where he is right now on this team. So there's a little bit of that. I'm interested to see how Nick Sirianni and Jeff Stoutland are going to go forward. Are they going to move Jordan Mailata from left side to the right side and insert Andre Dillard in at left tackle? He said yesterday all options are on the table. Are they just going to go with Jack Driscoll at right tackle? Do you want to upset both sides, your left and your right side? And by upset, I mean you take Jordan Mailata out of his comfort zone, right, and you move him over? Or do you want to just keep him where he has been? We know Dillard can't play right side. Remember that experiment lasted maybe not even one game a few years ago. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do this. They have 2 games to figure it out and get guys comfortable in those spots. And I think that's a luxury that they've afforded themselves by starting 13-2.
I said it yesterday. I'll say it again today, though, Rob. I'm actually more concerned about Maddox being out than Johnson for this reason. The way the Eagles got sliced and diced with Josiah Scott out there. I mean, literally the Cowboys just put CeeDee Lamb in the slot and told him to run all of his routes from Oklahoma. I was getting just these like repeat vibes in my mind, seeing him basically run when he ran as a Sooner. And even Darius Slay was complaining about Josiah Scott after the game. Like, it's not a good look for this team to have guys complaining about other players. Like, this has been such a good, tight, cohesive unit. And for one guy to be that significant to a defense is just bizarre to me.
Yeah, and before Slay goes and starts pointing fingers at anybody, you got to look at the drop-off in his performance over the last few weeks. Darius Slay I know he's in the Pro Bowl. I know he's considered one of the elite corners in the league, but he's had some rough games over the past 4 or 5 weeks. I think if you look, there's a breakdown. I don't know where I saw it, Josh, but I saw a breakdown of opposing quarterbacks' passer rating against Slay first maybe 6, 7, 8 games versus the last 5, and it's significantly changed. So if he's not going to be that dominant shutdown elite corner, and now you have Avonte Maddox out of the lineup, and there's a little bit of a lack of chemistry, there's a little bit of finger pointing, there's a little bit of confusion. That doesn't bode well for the playoffs. I think when you get into the Eagles have been the number 1 pass defense in the NFL. They're number 2 overall on defense. And for as much as we talk about the offense and what they've been able to do, that defense has been significant to where they are now. They got to get things together. And without Avonte Maddox, that hurts. You're right. That hurts.
Rob, the other thing I found interesting is that, you know, if you listen to a lot of the former players on different platforms, you know, whether it's, you know, Ryan Clark and Dan Orlovsky at ESPN or Trey Thomas in different interviews, a lot of these guys are saying, hey, the Eagles only lose because of 4 turnovers. The 2 losses they had 4 turnovers in both. Is it that simple, Rob? Is it so simple as the Eagles are just beating themselves?
No doubt. Josh, no doubt. When you look at that game against the Cowboys, and I had him winning. I had him as my upset special of the week. And for a while there, twice they had a 10-point lead, right? It looked pretty good. And then that 3rd and 30, the 3rd and 30, whatever, 40-yard, 50-yard play to T.Y. Hilton, that was a backbreaker. But of course, the picks, Miles Sanders' fumble was a big turning point in that game. And man, I'm concerned a little bit about Quez Watkins, because you look at both of those interceptions. I thought if those balls are to, like, I saw those play, and you got to put it, of course, you put a little bit of blame certainly on the guy who threw the ball, on the quarterback, on Gardner Minshew. But I'm thinking to myself, like, AJ Brown doesn't allow that to happen. AJ Brown is gonna out-muscle, out-fight. He's not gonna allow the defender to make that pick. Now, the first one was an incredible play by Curse, and I thought it was pass interference. Like, I don't know how you make that contact and lean over and make the one-handed pick. But then the next one, to just lose the ball, to get out-fought for the ball, I thought that was a little bit on Quez Watkins. And if you go back against the Bears, one of Jalen Hurts' picks was a pass intended for Quez Watkins. I wonder how long you can continue to count on him or depend on him as the number 3 receiver in big moments, in big spots.
Talk with AP lead NFL writer Rob Maaddi here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on a Tuesday on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, let's get to a couple other stories around the NFL, because one of them may directly impact the Eagles, and that's the firing of Nathaniel Hackett before the end of the year. I saw Greg Perner saying today that, basically they thought they had to fire him because of how the team looked on and off the field. We know that Jonathan Gannon interviewed for this job last year. He's one of the guys who was in the building interviewing. So what is your perspective on the Broncos job moving forward?
I think every team that's going to have an opening is going to be interested in Jonathan Gannon. They're going to be interested in Shane Steichen. And I think some teams are going to have some interest in Brian Johnson, the Eagles quarterbacks coach, who's done such a tremendous job with Jalen Hurts. However, in the Broncos case, Josh, the more I think about it, the more people I talk to, given what they just experienced with Nathaniel Hackett, a first-time head coach, now with Russell Wilson there, with all the money that they paid Russell Wilson, you're not getting out of that contract. You got to bring in a guy who's going to be able to figure him out, get him back on some sort of track to success. I think they're going to be a little gun-shy, a little bit concerned about bringing in anyone who hasn't had previous success as a head coach. Obviously, the first name everyone wanted to talk about was Sean Payton. It makes sense from a Broncos standpoint, as far as, all right, you got a guy who's a Super Bowl winning head coach, an offensive-minded guy. I don't know about his system fitting in with Russell Wilson and all of that, but I do anticipate that they're going to interview the coordinators who are the hot guys, and the Eagles are going to have 2 or 3 candidates, as I mentioned. But for the Broncos specifically, that team is probably going to be more likely to bring in a proven winning type head coach. That doesn't mean the Eagles don't lose one of their guys to someone else, because there's going to be several job openings. And we saw that in 2017. And they almost didn't lose Frank Reich until Josh McDaniels left the Indianapolis Colts at the altar.
Right. Do you buy into the speculation out there that Dan Quinn could get the Broncos job because him and George Patton have the same agent?
Makes sense, right? And in Dan Quinn's case, you got a guy who's at least he hasn't won a Super Bowl, but he's gone to a Super Bowl, biggest comeback or biggest collapse, depending on your viewpoint of that game. But he's been there. He's had success. He's having success now as a defensive coordinator with the Cowboys. That would be somebody who fits, but he's a defensive-minded head coach. So now if you're the Broncos, you're going to have to find the right fit as an offensive coordinator for Russell Wilson.
We know that the Colts had another ugly loss on Monday Night Football. Nick Foles was unable to spark anything for them. I mean, right, exactly. But Irsay is still holding on to this idea that Jeff Saturday might be the guy moving forward. Like, are the Colts just like stuck in limbo and they can't get out of their way, Rob?
Well, I think they're going to consider everything, Josh. They're going to have to look at several candidates. They certainly got to fulfill the Rooney Rule, and they know that. And Jeff Saturday is somebody who certainly Jim Irsay has an affinity for. He brought him in and went out on a limb to do that and endured some criticism for it, and probably still gets, certainly in this media age, is going to be criticized for that continually. They got to look long and hard at all candidates. They're going to have to figure out their quarterback situation. They're a team that's got some talent, but has been a major disappointment this season. And that's a team that had a lot of high hopes coming in, right? And they've had a lot of uncertainty at quarterback over the years since they lost Andrew Luck. And Carson last year went there and gave them a 27-7 season, started 9-6. They lose the last 2 games and fell out of favor with the owner, and they needed to make a change. Well, that blew up in their face. That really did. And they may not be at this point right now where they are had they just given Frank Reich another season with Carson Wentz. I certainly don't think they'd be 4-10-1 at this point. They may not be in the playoffs, but in that division, all you need to be right now is 8-7 to be leading. So it's a mess, and they got to figure it out. Jim Irsay is a passionate guy, man. I know him pretty well. He's probably texted me about 10 times in the past 10 days. So I get along really well with Jim, and he wants to win, man. He wants to win. I know that, and he's going to do what he thinks is right to build a winner and turn things around there.
Rob, I want to also get your thoughts on the surprising news that came out of nowhere. I mean, we all knew J.J. Watt was closer to the end of the career than the beginning, right? But we didn't expect him just to randomly tweet out, "Oh, my last NFL home game," with my kid. It was like, wait, where did this come from? Watt obviously is a future Hall of Famer. Just your thoughts on his, impromptu announcement.
Monster game Sunday night against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers.
And they still lost.
Yeah, he was a game wrecker, man. I'm watching that games Christmas night with my wife and kids who are Buccaneers fans, and they're all like, what's 99 doing? He couldn't retire soon enough for them. And to get this out, it doesn't surprise me though, Josh, from the standpoint of, remember earlier in the year, right? When JJ went through the very strange sequence of tweeting on the day of a game. Oh, by the way, I had a heart issue this week and had to have it shocked back into
rhythm,
normalcy, and I'm going to play. Like, oh, wait a minute. If that's going on, how was he playing? I don't understand. Obviously, I'm not a cardiologist or anything remotely close to it, so I don't understand the situation, the severity of it, or how serious that was. But I would have to think that that's a factor maybe in what he's looking at going forward. And from that standpoint, it doesn't surprise me.
He's Rob Maaddi. Give him a follow on Twitter at Rob Maaddi. Check out the AP Pro Football podcast. Like, subscribe, download, and of course, Faith on the Field, Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. The encore Sunday morning right here on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, I appreciate you shifting from Monday to Tuesday. We'll probably be shifting again next week because next Monday is all the bowl games. So I'll probably be talking to you Tuesday for 2 straight weeks here.
You got it, Josh, and I wish you and all the listeners a happy and blessed new year.
I'm sure you feel very blessed that you're not one of the people stuck with the Southwest flight situation. So
I haven't paid attention to it, but I see a lot of people complaining about it on social media, and that's rough, man.
67% of Southwest flights have been canceled.
Wow. And it's not just Southwest, right? There's certainly other airlines that have had a whole ton of issues right now.
I mean, apparently, according to reports, Southwest is the one with the most problems. Apparently,
Wow.
The other airlines are at least they're only around 20% cancellation rate right now, whereas Southwest is having a meltdown apparently. So
Whew, that's rough, man. That's rough. So for everybody out there who's stuck on a plane and plans alter or everything else like that, I feel for you. Been there, done that, and hate it.
Rob, take care of yourself. Talk soon.
You got it, brother.
Josh Hennig here, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash, talking NFL with Rob Maaddi, being brought to you by my friends over at Jenkins & Sons. Call Jenkins One call does it all. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, the plumbing guy. Just call Jenkins at 609-641-6262. Jenkins has got you covered for heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air systems, water heaters, boilers, leaks, whatever you need done, Jenkins has you covered. Give them a call, 609-641-6262, online at jenkinsandsons.com. We'll check you on the text board. We got a bunch of texts to get to on the other side. Dan and EHT, we got Paul in Ocean City. All you guys will get to your messages next here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill. 2:45 on a Tuesday.
Looking to start the year off right?
Happy New Year.
Head to 973ESPN.com. Download the free mobile app and keep listening to 97.3 ESPN. Oh, and Happy New Year.
With GMF financing, to qualify buyers excludes Corvette.
It may be cold outside, but the deals are smoking at Bennett Chevrolet. It's our red-hot clear-the-lot year-end sale. While they last, everybody gets GM supplier employee pricing on new Chevys. That's right, everybody pays what our supplier employees pay and not a penny more. Even when other dealers are selling for thousands over sticker, Bennett is selling at GM supplier employee prices. But hurry, this incredible deal is on new Chevys and they will sell out fast. Save even more with rates as low as 3.99%, and every pre-owned's on sale too. This may sound unbelievable, but Bennett's paying a minimum $10,000 for the worst clunkers towards any pre-owned in stock. Yes, a minimum $10,000 for total. Imagine how much you'll get for a trade that actually runs. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid not on how much you spend, but on your satisfaction. So you know you will be satisfied. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Welcome to a late-night edition of What If, the show where I, Jake from State Farm, answer your insurance what-ifs. We've got Sean on the line. What's up?
Hey, Jake, what if I'm too stressed about my coverage to sleep? Like, what if I don't have enough? Or what if I need to change it?
Oh, if you can't sleep, just give us a ring. We're available 24/7. At State Farm, we're there for your what-ifs.
Oh, great. What if I just take a little nap?
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today.
If you run a small business, you need the most from every investment. That's why Comcast Business gives you more. Like more innovation with our new gig speed Wi-Fi. Plus unlimited data, more speed from the largest, fastest, reliable network for small businesses, and more savings, up to 60% a year with Comcast Business Mobile. All from the company that powers more businesses than any other provider. When you need more, you need Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Get started with fast, reliable internet for just $49 a month for 12 months with no annual contract. Or ask how to get up to an $800 prepaid card with a qualifying bundle. Call or go online today. Limited time offer. Restrictions apply. EcoBill and autopay required. New 50 megabits per second internet customers only. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Mobile savings compares pricing of top 3 carriers. Comcast Business Internet required.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for healthcare. And here's why. Not only is it open enrollment for a lot of people, it's also a time you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. And it's true, the typical family switching to MediShare saves $500 or more a month, which is obviously huge for a lot of people. But what's more, they like it. MediShare has double the customer satisfaction rate compared to health insurance. There are 400,000 members. They've shared over $4 billion in medical bills, and it really is a great community too. people encourage and pray for each other. And here's the thing. If you join MetaShare Complete right now, they'll waive your new member fees and you'll save an additional 10% off all of 2023. That's right. No fee to join, 10% off every month of next year, but it's a very limited time offer. You have to sign up before December 31st. Great savings, great healthcare. Find out more. Call now. 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge. But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $79.99. You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
Gain presents a tale of longing and long-lasting scent. Dear love of my life, we were on the 12B bus when I caught a whiff. A scent so fresh, so life-changing, I had to find its source. I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Add Gain scent beads for an even longer lasting scent.
Save thousands at Matt Blatt Kia. Get out of your old trade today, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Go to mattblattkianj.com for more details. That's mattblattkianj.com.
It's gotta be
Matt Blatt Kia.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill. Let's get to the text board over at 609-403-0973. Also your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Paul from Ocean City chimes in and says, Josh, I agree 100%. You need to keep Mailata at left tackle and Driscoll to right tackle. Game plan all season to have the tight end on the right side to assist Driscoll if he struggles. Again, that's from Paul in Ocean City. Paul, first of all, appreciate you chiming in and listening into the show. You know, I think it's interesting you mentioned about the tight end because Rob Maaddi mentioned the same thing. I think there's a chance that the Eagles probably need to run the ball more. And if you run the ball more, it takes a little more pressure off of these guys at these tackle positions. So, because now the defense is being pushed back on their heels. And when you go for the passing down on 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 6, you're not backpedaling as much all the time. And I think the tight end is a part of that running game. So I think they do need to run the ball. Dan HC says, interesting you bring up Watkins. That's why I think Hurts doesn't target him too often. Look, you could argue that Watkins is a big reason why this team has lost 2 games, right? Another texter says, I guess it wasn't for Quez Watkins, this team would be undefeated. Listen, there is something to be said for the fact that Quez Watkins has been directly responsible for losing games for the Eagles. The fumble against Washington on Monday Night Football, the poor running of routes against the Bears that caused the interception of Hurts a couple weeks ago. And then in this game, just not running the route, not coming to the ball, not playing the way he should. And maybe Danny HC is right. Maybe there is something to be said for why Hurts doesn't feed him the ball more, because maybe he just doesn't trust him. And I can't blame him, because the way Minshew is targeting him and the way that Minshew is throwing those 2 interceptions, you have to wonder if he was throwing to anyone not named Watkins, would those still be interceptions? Now, as Rob Maaddi said, you can't not blame Minshew because he did stare down the receiver on the Curse interception where Curse reached around him and grabbed the ball, but you still got to blame the receiver for maybe not doing a little more on those plays. Also on the text board at 609-403-0973, Dexter says, from what I remember watching Driscoll play, he was okay in pass defense, but much better on run plays. We should be running the ball anyway. So line up at the tight end, run the ball on the right side. Secondly, if Hurts is doing less than 3 seconds and the ball is off to the receiver, then it shouldn't matter anyway. Just give the kid a chance. Listen, I'm with you on Driscoll about giving him a chance. This guy was a good college player. He's a guy who's a lot of versatility. The organization likes him a lot, and they believe in him. So Why not go out there and see what Driscoll can do? To me, like I said, my bigger problem is the Maddox absence. We've seen a couple games now with no Avonte Maddox, and the defense just doesn't adjust properly. Now, maybe Gannon learns from that, and he becomes better at adjusting. But for right now, it looks like that the Eagles' most important player on defense is Avonte Maddox, for better or for worse. And until the Eagles show us that they can be an effective team without him, I'm going to keep having questions about Maddox and this team and their durability. All right, coming up here, so I'll have a quick segment with John McMullen, Eagles insider from JAKIB Media, and then we will bring you to the First Responders Bowl, part of our triple header today on 97.3 ESPN. First Responders Bowl kicks off at 3:15. Sixers basketball in Washington going for their ninth straight win at 7 p.m. And then after that is the Guaranteed Rate Bowl tonight on 97.3 ESPN. It's the holiday season. It's bowl season. And we got you covered right here on 97.3 ESPN.
'Tis the season to celebrate college football. It's bowl season.
Texas wins an amazing Rose Bowl.
Over 20 bowl games, right up to the College Football National Championship game on January 9th.
Michigan has won the All-State Sugar Bowl.
It's College Bowl season on 97.3 ESPN.
Listen to the ServPro First Responders Bowl, Memphis versus Utah State. Coverage begins today at 3:15.
Matt Blatt Mitsubishi in Glassboro offering you huge discounts. Now you can get a great deal on a brand new Mitsubishi. Online at mattblatt.com.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
Spilled your milkshake? Quick, the quicker picker upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker. And each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading Ordinary brand. So you can get back to your milkshake.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
Bounty, the quicker picker upper.
At my age, I never dreamed I'd be dealing with opioid addiction.
I was pregnant and I couldn't stop. Getting sidelined by an injury was bad, but the cravings were way worse.
Then I heard about 844-REACH-NJ.
They connected me to treatment and I had a healthy baby. 844-REACH-NJ was the call that made the difference.
Thank goodness I made the call.
So glad I made the call for both of us.
REACH-NJ. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, call 844-REACH-NJ from the New Jersey Department of Human Services.
Getting your guaranteed maximum refund with TaxSlayer feels like discovering a refund tree has grown in your backyard.
I'm the refund tree.
Sawing off its branches.
Hey.
Feeding them through a wood chipper.
My branches! My beautiful branches!
And dancing in its refund rain. Start for free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
This is Staples.
So rumor has it that Staples has everything I need to ship.
Mm-hmm. We have all the shipping supplies and services you need.
Boxes?
Yep.
Mailers?
Yeah, and we have UPS here in store.
Huh. What will Staples think of next?
Right?
No, seriously, I'm asking, what will they think of next?
Staples is your one-stop shipping destination. Now get 50% off shipping boxes, mailers, or tubes when you buy 5 of the same item in-store or online with 1-hour pickup. Staples, the best-kept secret in shipping. Ends 12/31. Exclusions apply. Visit staplesconnect.com/shipping for details.
Pro. Progressive Fence and Rail. Fencing, railing, shower enclosures for home builders and homeowners. Customized just for you. Awnings and decks, yeah, we do those too. Yeah. We get it done right. We get it done fast. With quality products built to last. If you need help around the outside of your home, the only name you need to know is Pro. ProgressiveFenceandRail.com.
Did you know Nissan EVs have traveled 8 billion miles? Just a quick trip to Pluto and back. And what did we learn along the way? Well, that an EV can take on the world, like the Nissan Leaf. It can move racing forward and take your breath away, like the all-new Nissan Ariya. We learned to make EVs that electrify. 8 billion miles driven by Leaf owners globally since 2010. Ariya not yet available for purchase. Expected availability late fall, subject to change.
Hey, this is Josh Hennig reminding you to trust Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Because when we needed to make the 97.3 ESPN studio comfortable, that's who we called, and you should too. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Jenkins technicians are trained to do it all. For new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing and drain cleaning services, call 609-641-6262. Online at jenkinsandsons.com.
A town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
He is hit. He stumbles. He's down.
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
Sports Bash being brought to you today by the Gallery at Ocean Casino Resort. Yes, the Gallery bar booking games. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Go to the Gallery in Ocean Casino Resort to go for the win. For more information, visit oceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. We got a short segment here with John McMullen from JAKIB Media. You can catch him weekday mornings for Birds 365, him and Jody Mack on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. It's been an interesting week of Eagles news. Get the latest from John here on the show. John, welcome back in. How you doing today?
Doing well. Good to talk to you, Josh.
Good to talk to you, John. So, obviously a lot of people have a lot of consternation about the news that came down about Lane Johnson and Avonte Maddox. So, what is the latest information you can give the audience? Because the Eagles are not exactly giving us a ton of information. They're saying abdominal and toe injuries, and that's almost like a degree above hockey when they say upper and lower body injuries.
Yeah, it's a slight degree up, but obviously the Eagles, it's been Nick Sirianni's sort of template to not put timetables on people. So you try to sort of peel the onion a little bit. And, the Eagles aren't expecting Lane Johnson back for the regular season and described it as hopeful he would return for the playoffs. I think everybody assumes Lane is going to try to play through it because he's such a tough guy. Now they described it as an abdomen, a tendon tear in the abdomen. So it was a little bit of strange wording. I go back to the Giants game, and if people remember, Lane left that game and with an abdomen issue, and then it pops up again, and you start the first thing, and this is purely speculative from my standpoint, in the fact that having seen these things, I immediately think of sports hernia. And if it's a sports hernia, I don't like that. There's no doubt he's going to try to play through it, as I said, because he's such a tough guy, but you're generally not the same without your core, and especially somebody like Lane Johnson who's so athletic and so powerful. So, yeah, that's a big concern because we have a large sample size over Lane's career, and the bottom line is they're very good when he's on the field, and they're not good when he's off the field. So that one is a big concern. Not that Avonte is not a big concern, because he is. And it's probably worse news for Avonte in the fact that, he was in a walking boot after the game, and the Eagles used the terminology indefinitely, which is worse than hopeful. So Avonte might even be a little bit more serious. So, yeah, it's a concern. I don't even care about the loss, to be honest with you. I mean, they nearly beat the Cowboys with a backup quarterback. They had 450 yards of offense. You know, if they didn't turn the football over, they'd win the game. Not even concerned about the loss, far more concerned about the loss of players like Lane Johnson and Avonte Maddox.
Trey Thomas was on ESPN radio this morning, the morning show, Keyshawn, J-Will, and Max, and suggested that the Eagles should just plug in Jack Driscoll and ride with him. Do you agree with those sentiments, or you think it's too simplistic?
No, I don't think it kind of depends. You know, if they expect Lane back for the playoffs, and I think they do, as I said, to me, the bigger concern is, can he play through it, and will he try to play? Then, yeah, I would just stick Jack Driscoll in for the final 2 games. I think if it was season ending, then everything comes on the table. And then you got to seriously have those tough discussions. All right, what's better? Keeping Jordan Mailata at left tackle, just inserting Jack Driscoll. You can flip Jordan to right tackle and play Andre Dillard at left tackle. Jordan has proven he can play both sides. And then, you know, I think a lot of people don't think about Dillard as being able to move, but he is playing left guard for the first time and has. So maybe he's progressed to the point where they would consider him at right tackle. So there's a lot of ways they can go. But if it's short term and they expect him back for the divisional round of the playoffs, then, yeah, I just put Jack Driscoll in there and roll with him. And by the way, that might be the best option anyway. I mean, Jack's a good player. He's a good backup, and that's his natural position. So that might be the best answer anyway for the Eagles.
How concerned or not concerned should Eagle fans be about the fact that as soon as Avonte Maddox left the game on Christmas Eve, that Josiah Scott looked lost, dazed, and confused for the rest of the game?
A little bit because of the downgrade in talent, I think, more than anything else. The Eagles, and you see this, there's about 12 teams that play the same style of Vic Fangio defense that the Eagles do. And you see it with all of them. When you don't communicate, you get blown coverages all over the place. And that's what happened to the Eagles against Dallas. I mean, it was just blown coverage and after blown coverage. And typically they've been able to avoid that. They've been very good, very communicative, and they weren't. And you know, remember, Josiah played for Avonte when he was out with a hamstring injury, and he was solid. So, you know, it was difficult. Obviously, there were some high-profile plays, a 3rd and 30, which turns out was his fault. Maybe a little bit too complicated a defense for a guy who's coming in off the bench. So, for people that enjoy blaming Jonathan Cannon, maybe go down that route. Maybe should have simplified things a little bit. But I think it's similar to the turnovers. I think that's almost self-correcting. They played the majority of the season, and they've been very good at communication on the back end. I think that was a hiccup. I don't think it's going to be a trend. I think that'll be corrected pretty easily.
John, before we let you go, looking ahead to Sunday, obviously the Eagles need to win one more game to lock up the 1 seed and the division. The Saints should be a winnable game, but the Saints do have one thing, and that is a pretty good defense, right?
Yeah, they do. But, yeah, you know, this is a game you got to win, even if Gardner Minshew plays. This is not a good football team, not a good coach, not a good quarterback. And that's, you know, playing at Lincoln Financial Field. You got to sort of put your foot down and be able to dismiss that team. And I think the Eagles will ultimately. Maybe it'll be a little bit more difficult because the injuries are starting to pile up. But as long as they can get it by hook or by crook. And you know they're not going to score a lot of points. And the Eagles have proven, I'm talking about the Saints, the Eagles have proven they can score on anybody, even when they lose games with the backup quarterback. They're putting up big numbers. So, the Saints are a better defense than offense, but Dallas has been a better defense for most of the year until leaking oil, and they were able to do things against Dallas. So, and it's a dome team coming to Philadelphia. Now, the weather's going to be a little bit nicer than it's been over the past few days, but still, you never like a dome team coming to the Northeast in January. Throw that into it. Eagles got to win the game. Eagles should win the game, even with Gardner Minshew.
He's John McMullen. Follow him on Twitter at JFMcMullen for all of your Eagles and NFL news. Check out Birds 365 every weekday morning on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. John McMullen, Jody Mack, get you all the Eagles information each and every morning. John, appreciate you jumping on today. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Thanks, Josh.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN. All right, that's it. We got the First Responders Bowl coming up next. Memphis versus Utah State. Following that will be Sixers versus the Wizards tonight on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage for that begins at 7 o'clock. Tom McGinnis on the call. And then tonight, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, which will feature Wisconsin versus Oklahoma State. We'll be back tomorrow for a full show with Ryan Rothstein live from Ocean Casino Resort, the Gallery Bar Book and Games. I'll be riding shotgun with Ryan tomorrow on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Thanks again to John McMullen for joining us and Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Hennig on the Twitter sphere. Have a great day, everybody, and enjoy the bowl action next.
The best way to wake up is with Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Weekday mornings at 6 on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.